low votes and high votes. Nothing on.
But green would now be packaged into an info action, or where is the cut? Do we have a summary versus the budget total? Maybe we need to make a cut if that goes beyond the net change limit only for one group. Huh?
Oh, we don't. I don't think we don't have limits for groups.
Well, lucky for us, we are the first one, so we could use the whole 350, huh?
But
so as Danielle's mentioning in the chat, this is for us to discuss around sentiments, clarify issues or questions that we may have, and seconding for the discussion. So not so much discussing what goes in and out right now. Also wanted to update everyone that the live stream should be up and running now. Chris, there's a question in the chat about whether folks can have access to, as a read-only view to the spreadsheet, because some people are having a hard time seeing it. Not sure if that's possible or not, but wanted to raise.
If you can make a read-only version, or I can duplicate this sheet.
So we're starting to get some themes coming in the chat. And I know I can see that. So for now, what I'm going to ask folks, now that we're up and live, if we can have a little less chatter while we wait for topics coming into the chat. I'm going to highlight who has submitted some topics for seconding. We have Ken Eric's question. We have Min, who suggested one theme. And then I think that might be... Yes, Dave. So not so much individual projects to discuss, but DREPs are supposed to second topics that are coming up in the chat using the green check mark emoji reaction. All right, so while folks are reading in the chat, I see Ken Eric's has been seconded, so we'll move into that discussion point in 1 minute. Just want to give other folks a little bit more time. Min's has been seconded as well. So we've got 2 topics for discussion. Okay, seeing no others, let's go ahead and kick things off then. What I'm going to do, as we mentioned, Ken Eric, I'll turn it over to you to just kind of give us broader framing around the topic you brought up. So I'm going to put 2 minutes on the timer. And so those of you that propose a topic, you'll have 2 minutes to kind of fully explain what it is that you want to bring in for discussion that's been seconded. And then I'm going to put another 5-minute timer, for the actual discussion. If we sense that there's a lot of energy that's still there and we need a little bit of extra time to continue in that topic, we may play around with timing just a little bit to make sure that we're getting your input in. So with that, Ken Eric, whenever you're ready, let me know and I'll start the 2 minutes so you can introduce your topic to us.
Oh yeah, so hello, my name is Ken Erik Ørnheim. I'm from the Nordic community and also been involved with implementing MiCA and the regulated environment here in the Nordic countries. So one of the things that I see as a problem for the Cardano ecosystem is that, yes, we really want a stable coin. And there have popped up, let's say, several stable coins, and none of them gets like this major attraction. And in regards to the proposal here, in regards to real world assets, my question was, is it an option to actually support one regulated stablecoin ecosystem so we can boost that, let's say, a lot before we start introducing several others? So I showed the USDM as an example because it's one of the few EMI licensed stablecoin, along with the Circle USDC here in Europe. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken Eric. All right, so now I'm gonna start 5 minutes on the timer for conversation. And I see that there's a couple more themes being seconded in the chat. And yes, I see Alex and Imran, or who was it? Yeah, Alex and Imran. So DREPs are the ones that are raising topics for discussion. And then DREPs are also the ones that are seconding those topics. It's a good clarification question right there. All right, I'm going to start 5 minutes for group discussion on Ken Eric's topic. Please feel free to either unmute or raise your hand, and we'll get started.
Hi, this is Nilay from Reach Circles. I think already answered your question because I've already been in discussion with USDM, for example, for a long time. I knew the founder almost since the beginning of Cardano because he was a colleague of mine from Deutsche Bank. I also have a Deutsche Bank background. So he passed away. So after that, I am in contact with the team. So USDM is a good stable coin. Indeed, we need regulated stable coins. And I think USDA is trying, and USDM also has a very good starting point because the founder was from a regulated institution. So basically, he took care that he knew all the regulations before he floated that stable coin. So my answer is yes, we already have plans to include USDM in our thing if we get the opportunity to. That's all.
Oh, thank you so much.
Any other questions or comments around this discussion topic? All right, seeing or hearing none, let me make sure. Garrett, is that in regards to what we're talking about now when you ask pros versus cons? Yes. So if you could elaborate a little bit on your question, maybe, Garrett.
Oh
I know I'm
my.
going to make you unmute.
Yeah, okay. So, I'm only surface level knowledgeable about stablecoins in comparison to the two that spoke. But it does make me think about, I don't know, competition, I guess, and what projects we as a community decide to fund. Yeah, no, I think that it's maybe a good idea to push funding towards maybe a project that has already seen success. I also just want to consider the power behind this group in funding projects that already have a certain kind of like financial rooting. And so I don't know, why this stable coin might be more valued than, let's just say, like DJET or something like that. So I was hoping that somebody else could elaborate on why this project versus, say, any other.
Should I answer the question again?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what this space is for.
So
let me clarify super quick. So discussion can be for anyone. It's the raising of topics and the seconding of topics that can only be DREPs. So with that, yes, please respond to Garrett's question.
Yeah, so stable coins typically, like, it depends on the liquidity providers, right? So if you have a huge backup or a large liquidity provider, then your stable coin basically gets a stability. It's so if you have very low liquidity, then your stability is not there. As simple as that, because the entire stability in the type of automated exchanges that we have in the thing, or even for centralized exchange, relies entirely on liquidity. So if you have a huge backup, and in this case, USDM, I don't know whether they have got institutional backups, but if the community backs them up or via the Treasury, if they fund them, it's a huge plus for the community. So it's entirely dependent on the liquidity. And of course, the regulatory cost that you have to bear for using that stablecoin over lots of countries and things like that. But basically, it's a regulatory cost and the institutional support and liquidity, whoever can provide that. And I think USDM has the momentum going, so I wish them good luck. But typically, it's not the technology. It's typically USD. The stable coins are entirely dependent on whether you have the liquidity or not. If you don't have that, you can have the best technology, and it simply does not matter.
Very much.
Thanks so much, all. Yeah, Ken Eric.
Yeah, and I also think we should, like, this one goes out to all the DREPs out there. As DREPs, I say we cannot just throw money at, let's say, any stablecoin that's going to get introduced and hope for the adoption. As proposal here says, liquidity is everything, and the market makers are everything. So we should at least, let's say, bet for a handful stable coins and not. So yeah, so focus on a smaller amount of stablecoins instead of so many.
Okay, perfect timing. All right, so we're gonna quickly move right into our next seconded topic. And so I see, Min, you brought up actually two different topics that both got seconded. So why don't you, I'm gonna put 2 minutes on the timer, take us through your first topic. We'll discuss that one, and then we'll move to your second topic.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can, go for it.
On my topic, I just wonder that is questions about like we gonna embed a clear time-bound milestone into every ADA proposal. Yeah, because we want to ensure that we know like when it changes up, the funding unlocks measurable impacts. And so if you categorize these proposal into like quick win, medium lead, or long lead horizon, we can compel the proposer to like articulate the short-term deliverables and stage the funding triggers and making the contingency plans. So thereby it's protecting our treasury, it's sustaining the momentum, and just de-risking the large and multi-epoch investments. Yeah, that was my abstract of what I want to discuss. So as I see this, there's like three type projects in here. That's long lead projects, medium lead projects. Long lead is like over 180 days and it's larger than 10 million ADA. So medium lead is like 60 to 180 days from 1 to 10 million ADA. And the quick win project is like under 60 days and under a million ADA. So what is your target outcome and how will you measure it? And can you commit like a clear on-chain and or off-chain metrics, like wallets on board, hackathon participants, within that period? And yeah, that's all my idea, and it matters because it's related to the transparency and the treasury health overall. Thank you.
Thanks, Min. So now I'm gonna open it up for conversation for 5 minutes on this topic.
I'm happy to chip in there, maybe to get some of the conversation going. Min, first of all, thank you for such a well-formed question. Where do we see the quick wins versus the sort of more mid to long-term opportunities? I mean, certainly within Catalyst's proposal, the plan is to get a funding round launched as soon as the voting has been decided, in order for us to be able to start funding more of the ecosystem projects as we have been doing over the last 4 years. I mean, the plan will be to fund between 500 to 700 projects over the next 12 months. Each of those projects will typically be between a 2 or 3 month project up to a 12-month project. So there's a reasonable sense of there will be quite a few of those projects that will be completing within a 180-day period. And what do we want to focus on this time round? It's all about use cases and developing applications that use the Cardano blockchain in order to experiment and develop actual real world applications, certainly in the early stage. And then for those later stage projects, it's all about really identifying and I think targeting Catalyst's partners and products category to those opportunities that come from tier one brands and, you know, well-known world-leading organizations that are looking at Catalyst as an opportunity to demonstrate and experiment how they use blockchain in an industrial context. So that sort of stuff will take naturally a little bit longer, but I think it's still a worthwhile pursuit as we're beginning to see some really good results from the last two funds, where we've got world-leading brands now, you know, getting ready to start deploying and testing out what it is that they proposed just a few months ago. So yeah, I'll pause there, but that's sort of maybe a way to frame certainly Catalyst's position to that question.
Yeah, Min, go ahead. You can respond. It's open discussion, so go for it.
I just have this kind of observations, like proposal that is requesting under 1 million ADA. So the average is around 5.5 million scored. And why those requesting larger than 5 million ADA, like average closer to 6.2. So I have this kind of implication: if the bigger they ask tend to like self-select for more ambitious and higher quality pitches, but I mean, like they also carry more risk if their payback is low. So do we have any kind of actions? So like we trying to mitigate the timing risks and the engagement risk by require like at least one pre-funding micro event or like a social proof for any low engagement proposal before release? Thank you.
I mean, would that be to Catalyst specifically, or just across the whole broad range of proposals?
Across the whole range. I'm referring to the data. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I mean, for what it's worth, on the Catalyst point of view, the intention is to use data and KPIs in much more sort of stronger fashions over the next 12 months and beyond, once the Catalyst voting stack and experience is cohesively you know, developed and launched. And this will allow us to be able to do tracking of projects in, you know, more finer detail towards metrics that matter. I don't necessarily think it's relevant in every single case, but we need to be able to build towards those sorts of outcomes where we can get good data back on, you know, investment made.
Yeah, Andreas, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I second Min's point. To a certain degree, some of the proposals have actually included that in their proposal. They have clear KPIs, and they've also stated how they would achieve them. What I don't know, that would be a question then, how can we actually implement what you ask for? Who would be monitoring that? And I don't know if in the way that we set up the smart contracts for payments, do they consider those as conditional for the payouts or not? Because that I haven't seen. Because if we could link the payouts of the smart contract to those conditions stated, and we can really measure them, that would be very helpful.
Yeah, that's our time. Unless Chris, there was any response to that. I just want to give you a little bit of room if you need it.
Sure. I guess, you know, my only thought there, Andreas, is that without room for some level of flexibility, you know, if projects don't hit a target and then that then kills them, that has unintended consequences that I think, you know, need to be considered carefully when you go into creating the parameters of these smart contracts.
Chris, sorry, this wasn't meant for Catalyst, because I think that would be too much to ask to break it down into 1,000 projects and individual tranches. But there's many others that fall under the criteria that Min has highlighted. I think in some cases we could do something, and in others it might be too difficult, or we need to find other ways. There's not one solution that fits all, I won't say.
Yeah, so a broader point for everyone to keep in mind. I see another hand. If you could, so we can move on to the next seconded point, just put your thoughts in chat. Since we're already a minute or two over of our time, that would be great. Thank you. So Min, I had seen that you had actually put two different topics and both got seconded. Did you group them together or did you want to introduce us to the other topic you raised in chat?
No, actually, you guys can continue with that. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Thanks, Min. So then I think the next topic I saw raised in chat was Ricky. And it was seconded by a couple of folks.
Sorry, I don't think I did put anything in the chat. I simply responded. Maybe a different Ricky.
Oh, the question. I see what you mean. So it was just a question to consider in chat. Okay. Thanks, Ricky. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Let me continue scrolling. Make sure we haven't had any other topics come in.
Just as a kind suggestion, from the VC side, it's a little difficult for us to understand what might be a comment or a new topic. So if DREPs are suggesting a new topic, feel free to put in new topic, and this way we understand whether this is a proposed topic or maybe a question to an active discussion.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate
that. Could I ask a quick question, Katerina? Sorry, just to clarify, because it'll be important for a little while going on, I think. So I know there was some questions about like, if SMEs or how SMEs / Intersect people from like Intersect committees here should participate. Initially, that there was mentioned proposing topics, and then DREPs pick which topics to discuss. And then I think further down in the chat, you mentioned that there was some period before when Intersect members had a chance to propose topics, and there weren't any. But I just wanted to clarify: do Intersect members and/or committee members, sort of SME category, is there some way for us to participate at the moment? Because I'm just thinking myself and a few others who I know are such SMEs might have things to contribute, but we also don't want to disrupt the format if it's the wrong time. So just wanted to clarify what our role is.
Yeah, thanks so much, Matthew. So this discussion time is open for everyone to engage. The seconding is only for DREPs. The raising of topics, I believe that for DREPs and on the Intersect side, was mentioned that they might bring topics in, but Danielle, I want to refer to you and team in case there is space for Intersect to raise topics live for DREPs to then second.
I think that can be okay, given the low volume of DREP questions. If they want to second a topic, that's fine.
Awesome. Thanks, Danielle. So that's what we're going to do for Intersect members as well. If you have a topic to raise, please put it in chat so that we can visibly see DREPs only seconding for discussion.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks, Matthew. So we've got a new topic in the chat from S. Brown. So just want to draw attention to that so that folks can consider for second. It's already been seconded. So I'm going to come straight to you. S. Brown, I'm sorry, I don't know your first name. If you could come off mute, and I'll put 2 minutes on the timer for you to walk us through your topic, and then we'll jump into 5 minutes of discussion. No mic today? Okay, no worries, no worries. Then we'll, so I see here, just want to make sure. So the new topic for everyone that was presented and seconded was, can Chris or anyone else knowledgeable explain what role DREPs will play in the relaunched version of Project Catalyst? And then there's a couple Chris's, Chris with 2 S's. That's to you, Chris Baird.
Chris Baird.
No worries. Yeah, really good question. I think it's an interesting moment to think about, well, what role could DREPs play? Now, currently you guys have had a massive job to be able to do, and I hear that there's for future iterations of this budget process, or even Catalyst for that matter, you know, things need to sort of improve and change, and we're all learning within this first process. So, you know, Catalyst is looking at, you know, what has happened within this current iteration of DREPs participating, and thinking that this through with a wider and maybe a more open mind around what are the sorts of things that DREPs could do. Now, let me give you an for instance.
I'm sorry, Chris. Can you speak up? You're really
Oh,
low.
sorry. Yeah, is that better? Sorry, forgive
Yes,
me.
much better.
Perhaps I'm going on holiday, and I'm not going to be looking at anything that I'm voting on. But I don't necessarily want to vote. I don't want to delegate my voting power to a big influencer, for example. Maybe I just want to delegate it to my mate next door who got me into Cardano, and I want to retain my privacy. So, you know, there's an idea that possibly delegating voting power could be open to anyone. So I could just signal that I wish to be able to receive delegation, right? So this is one idea and one way that we're going to do it. Most likely in the first instance, it will be fairly similar to how Catalyst is currently operating with community reviewers, and maybe looking at ways in which the DREP pool of participants can be incentivized to be able to do the review work, right? So these are design choices that are you know, ongoing at the moment. There'll be iterations of what DREPs are going to be able to do within Catalyst, but really importantly, the first version of DREPs participating will be in Fund 15. So we won't have it in Fund 14, but we will in the following fund after that.
Thanks, Chris. Andreas, is your question in chat about this discussion a new topic or just a broader question for the chat? Just want to make sure.
New DREP question that needs seconded. If
A
not,
new topic. Perfect. So just want to highlight that's there in the chat for DREPs to check out and potentially second. But we still have a few more minutes on this current topic if anyone wants to continue that conversation.
I mean, the one thing I should say is that DREPs participating in Catalyst was funded under proposals that were approved back in Fund 10. So this work is already undergoing and ongoing, and development is soon to conclude. And as I said, the first instances of this will be available in the coming short months.
Yeah. And Chris, there was a follow-up question. Do you feel there's any ethical conflict to having DREPs compensated for reviewing proposals?
I think this is a discussion point. I think it's something that we need to look at and model and try to understand, well, what do people want to do? And you know, what do people feel like DREP's contribution could be beyond, you know, what they're currently doing. As I said, you know, we think about things, I guess, as an expert class, sometimes somewhat forming. That's what it seems to be within DREPs. And, you know, within that, I think a lot of people would benefit from understanding, you know, your point of view more concretely. So this is why we think about it through the lenses of community review. Is there an opportunity there? But first of all, it will be around voting. I want to be able to delegate my vote to someone else, and they can vote on my behalf. And then we go from there.
Thanks, Chris. And Imran, I want to make sure, is your comment in chat in response to Chris? Okay. All right. So with that, we're coming up in our last 10 seconds. Thanks so much, Chris. Appreciate your engagement there. And I already see we have two more seconded topics, so I'll go to our very first one. That was by Andreas. Andreas, if you would like to come off mute and give us a little bit more background there, I'll put 2 minutes on the timer.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we have the Catalyst program that just recently with Fund 13 launched through venture hubs. One is supporting with the CV Lab in Switzerland, and one with the Draper University in the US. And now we have also VC ventures that are added to the list in the budget on top of what we have already in the Fund 13 and potentially in Fund 14. My point here is shouldn't we focus in one area that, yes, we should support VCs, we should support that definitely, but just in one pocket and in one area, not have them like in Catalyst, in the Treasury and what else, so that we can really focus on it and know who's out there, so that we don't have 20 and we lose control. So I would be against using the Treasury now for supporting that proposal, but rather focus on the Catalyst in the future, as we already did, or the opposite. But I would love to have a decision here to make it more clear and more structured.
Thanks, Andreas. Putting 5 minutes on the timer for any discussion on this topic.
So just to clarify, Andreas, are you saying, I mean, because I think we all agree competition is healthy, whether it's venture, Catalyst, here, Intersect, where projects maybe should go, because we've heard quite a bit from DREPs about, oh, are they already in Catalyst for the same project? Are they potentially double dipping? Is that what you're saying? Or are you saying like basically taking the big pie and saying this part is venture equity model, this part is grant model, Catalyst, etc.? I just want to make sure we understand.
It's the second, because what I talk is I don't talk about the individual projects that get funding, but I get the one that are like venture hub style, getting a bulk, and they fund other projects in whatever means. So it's not the individual projects, it's the one that go in bulk. If you compare like the Antler project, is pretty similar to Draper or to CV Lab and others that might come. I think there should be one way that we distribute those, that we can control it. And yes, there could be competition. There are sometimes, very nicely competing to each other, but also adding to each other, because they don't always fulfill the same purpose.
I see we've got a couple of hands up, so we'll go right in order. Is it Mongi? Is that how you say your name?
Yes, correct, Mongi.
Mongi, go.
Thanks so much for the question, Andreas. Very much appreciated, right? So I'm from Antler, so we work closely with the community to put that proposal. And to answer your question, yes, I think healthy competitions with clear scope and clear focus for each program is important. So when we decided to come up with this proposal, we looked at what Catalyst is doing, we looked at what CV Labs is doing, right? And we didn't want to just do the same, right? And then we decided to come up from, we were also at the Cardano Summit where we heard a lot of feedbacks about the difficulty for a project to be commercially viable and to raise from VCs, as well as to find POCs from large companies and all that. So we decided to come up with a project which is really to support Cardano project, either existing or new Cardano project with our network of builders, to build and accelerate like 15 Cardano projects with a focus on VC readiness and AI readiness. As of today, Antler is the most active AI investor in the world, plus also the most active VCs in the world. And then we saw that as a clear offering, which is complementary to Catalyst, as well as to CV Labs, where those projects could go through that and then come to us also to be even further fine-tuned and reach like real POCs with large corporates, real fundraising from VCs and all that. So I think we're complementary to those ones, and with a very clear-cut view, leveraging our strengths on what we want to bring to the ecosystem.
Thanks, Imran.
Hi, good evening. I think the whole VC in the budget feels a little bit like, from my perspective, a little bit like a red herring, and I say that with the utmost respect, considering the other ones that have happened through Catalyst. So I suspect, and I feel like if we're doing the whole VC accelerator, we should keep it in one area, which is probably Catalyst, to let to let the people decide on that specifically. Just for example, just one example is taking the budget money and then using it on non-Cardano projects, which makes me feel very uncomfortable. That could happen. So I don't really want to set a precedent for that to kind of occur within the budget per se. And that's what I'm afraid of when it comes to the accelerator / VC within the budget. I suspect it may be more beneficial to have this via Catalyst, the way the other two have. But there were problems with that as well. So I'm just wary that we undertake that through the budget, and this is more signposted towards Catalyst to put a thorough proposal through and actually talk to all the teams that they want to bring through via that accelerator and go to the community via Catalyst as opposed to going through the budget. And that's just my thoughts on this matter.
Mongi, maybe I can respond there because I think it will also help to clarify the position a little bit. So Catalyst's 4 categories for the next 12 months are actually really keenly focused on funding R&D to deliver pilots of early stage and later stage, demonstrator projects, hopefully with leading brands. As I said, the other 2 categories are the open source developer category and then the open ecosystem category, which is intentionally going to have quite a low ceiling in terms of what the maximum amount that you're able to apply for. And the reason for doing these 4 categories in this way is to really sort of focus on, getting people building, supporting the open source ecosystem, and then funding those really early stage grassroots, creative grassroots community endeavors. So when we think about Fund 13 and the fact that 4 accelerator programs are funded effectively, that type of scope is somewhat different to what the 4 categories for the next 12 months are going to be. So I don't want there to be obviously a scenario where there's not a home for these types of projects. But I think the intention was that the marketing budget or the growth and innovation budget for this year would take care of some of that, whilst Catalyst would focus on supporting the early stage R&D and later stage demonstrator pilots. Hopefully that helps to give some context.
Thanks, Chris. And with that, we'll wrap up because we've had quite a few new topics coming, which is exciting. So we're going to continue we'll probably start to hold to that 5-minute a little bit more strictly now that we have quite a bit more engagement on marketing and innovation. So the next topic that's been seconded is Ken Eric. I see that there's a question underneath, Ken Eric, your new topic around governance. We do have governance block coming up after this one. So just want to clarify whether this should go under marketing and innovation or governance later on.
We'll do it in the governance later on. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So we'll skip that one for now. Thanks so much, Ken Eric. Next one that we have seconded, Seydou. I wasn't sure if it was just a comment, but I saw that Nana also seconded it, or if it was a topic for discussion. So let me know, and if so, I'll give you 2 minutes.
Right. So I think it was just a comment that I made regards to maybe if we give up opportunity for DREPs to participate in Catalyst in setting the category as well as the amount that are supposed to be allocated to DREPs. Allocated to this category. DREPs should help to doing that. But a follow-up to that one is that Chris is asking about whether DREPs could help in doing. I've not seen that. We have a DREP code of conduct document. I'm writing a comment on that. Let me share that one so that we can consider that. So my first earlier one was a comment, not a topic here.
Okay, perfect. Thanks so much for that clarification, Seydou. All right, so then I'll jump straight into our next seconded topic by Tevo. If you would like to come off mute, I'll give you 2 minutes to give us a little bit more background.
All right. So it's a bit more general one. As I see, like overall, through like communication devices, there is a bit of like status scale because we are rushing into budgeting a lot of proposals at once. And even when I'm trying to go through this, there is no not much of labeling going on. And I'm just wondering, is that gonna cause extra effort, or are the DREPs already working on some tooling that is categorizing different proposals and what areas they're working on? Are they running like administrator stuff and grant funding, or they're building a specific project or creating liquidity? All of this labeling, I think, would help us to see how large of areas these proposals are addressing. And even if sometimes proposals get low engagement, but there is nobody else proposing under that, maybe we should just give it a shot to see how that kind of measurement would pan out, and expecting also who is the administrator and what their KPIs is. But so yeah, topic around on how to kind of manage all these like large budget buckets that we are doing, and yeah, how has things been done before? Or we just expecting that DREPs just votes kind of is end all be all, and we don't need any kind of insights on how do we make the process itself better right now.
Thank you. I'm opening up 5 minutes for discussion.
Well, if I understood the question correctly, it sounded like it was a lot about the ultimate value that comes out of the proposals. And in thinking of what we've submitted into Gov form, the Gov tool, there are like proposal benefits, but those weren't categorized in like a drop-down box that kind of gives you the 5-10 options. I think it's a great question. Can you speak a little bit more to it? I just want to make sure everyone here fully understands what you're looking to achieve with that.
So I think in the early Catalyst days, we also had the same issue that at some point there was just too many proposals coming in. Right now, even these like 50 proposals right at once, okay, 1 month DREPs go without too much of guidance, other than choose the proposals you think you're interested in and give your like valid feedback. And like one thing is finding the proposals you're actually skillful. Another one is like where status game starts happening is that people are looking at, oh, I know these people, I vote there, or I know this DREP, he's voting yes or no, I'm going to the same way. So like a different paradigm of voting is going to happen here. But if you have more like data on, okay, I'm interested in like ERP systems or in like liquidity creation, then you can find easier what you're looking for. That's on one side for making it easier for DREPs, and on the other side is also like just having a greater clarity for the Intersect themselves or the people who are putting together interaction right now with these discussions, as I understand. But we don't know, are we covering all the areas? Are there some proposals missing? I think some work groups or committees have done something, but I don't see any results that to look at right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've been extremely supportive of intersecting the committees to the extent they have the time, which, you know, that many of them are volunteers to actually review and opine on, you know, these proposals across all buckets. You know, obviously they're volunteers and many of them just do not have the time. So we are pleased, folks like Utah, folks like others who are actually digging in and trying to provide their commentary. You know, at this point, since it's the first year, I think we're all trying to figure it out. You know, we're working nights and weekends to make sure we get here today. I think it's beautiful that each of you get to decide individually on whether you take a chance on a project. Maybe there's no MVP yet and you still want to fund that, and that's kind of where we are. Now, if you'd rather see something stable, something working already, you know, maybe you do end up saying, hey, you know, we would like you to we will vote no and go to Catalyst, go to another forum, go to open source. I'll stop because I don't want to take the floor, but I do think that is what's beautiful about this process, is that you actually get to decide no matter what.
Any other input on this discussion topic?
I can just ask or add one small thing on it. I think from what I understood in the conversation was, what if there aren't many proposals on a certain topic, the amount is small, and we just want to take a punt in a certain direction on a certain KPI. And so the key question that's coming out of this and all of this, right? And I also second the fact that it's beautiful that we all get to vote in the way we want, and there's that's kind of inherent to the process. But on the topic of taking a punt in a direction, the key question that comes to mind for me is why? Like, okay, let's come up with a metric and let's make it go up, but what is that ultimately going to lead to for the ecosystem? And so the broader question that I'd like to ask is, what exactly are we trying to achieve throwing all this money around, and how will we know if we've even successfully gotten there? And for me, what I'm mainly seeing is there are a lot of technical objectives. There are a lot of technical, I don't know if that beep was the time, but
It was, but go ahead and finish your thought.
Yeah, I'd just like to know where we're going and how will we know if we've won.
Awesome. Thanks, DJ. All right, with that, we're wrapping this topic. I want to call attention real quick that, because I know there's a lot of chatter in the chat. S. Brown and Min have put in 2 new topics in the chat for your consideration for seconding. So please go ahead and make sure to check those out. And so has Frank. I want to confirm, I see that there was a topic suggested and seconded, but it was suggested by iPhone. So can you confirm that you are a DREP before we open the floor to your topic?
Yes, indeed. I'm Philip.
Thank you.
And Anastasia Labs.
Perfect. So go ahead. I'll put 2 minutes on the timer for you to give us a little bit more context, and then we'll jump into discussion.
Yeah, I mean, the context is pretty open. It's just what is the allowed scope of Treasury funding? Are we okay with using Treasury funding to support commercial projects that aren't public goods or services for Cardano? Is there some limitation on the purposes of how Treasury funding can be used, akin to how there are limitations for like federal funding, et cetera? Like traditionally, federal governments do not allow investing in commercial products. You don't use taxpayer money for like investing in Amazon. And if we are okay with using Treasury funding to fund non-public infrastructure and commercial projects, then are there any requirements imposed on this funding and on what the community gets in exchange for it? Like, for instance, does the Cardano community get equity, or does the Treasury get equity in these projects? Or I think this is quite important because to have a reliable government system, the focus of government funding needs to be public goods, public services, et cetera. And traditionally, like, you see this with public infrastructure, like highways or transportation, healthcare infrastructure, because this is what increases the commercial capacity of everyone in those countries, right? If we invest heavily in public infrastructure, then the revenue generating capabilities of everyone building on Cardano will increase accordingly. Whereas if we just invest in individual projects, then we're picking winners and losers, and there's a lot of risk to this.
So much, Phil, and I already see folks ready to jump in to discuss. So Matthew, I'm going to come to you first.
Yeah, hey, actually, I see Chris has his hand up too, so he'll have something good to say on this. I was just going to say, what we do have are these sort of mediums for that can themselves, like public good mediums, which can themselves contribute to funding projects that may have, that may be more commercial or closed source or whatever, that are aiming at generating profits, because that is, it's public good. But there's an intermediary role, something like Catalyst or like Builder's DAO, for instance, is a medium that we agree basically it would be good to fund this source of funding for those kinds of projects, and that would be kind of the distinction that just intuitively I would draw. Is like you wouldn't want commercial projects drawing directly on the Treasury and through the Cardano budget, but you might fund some of these mediums for that kind of funding, like Builder's DAO or like Catalyst potentially. But probably Chris has better things to say. So go ahead, Chris.
Chris, you're muted.
There we go. No, certainly not better things to say, but just to give a bit of context, this is a world I've lived in for many years. Governments do absolutely fund commercial projects. And they do it through R&D grant funding. They do it through commercial contracts and tenders, and all manner of different ways. I think it's important to recognise it's not that governments do not fund things that are for profit. They absolutely do. The innovation program that I used to run at Innovate UK was business led. So you actually had to be developing a business in order to qualify for the funding that you're applying for. Similarly, they had other funding calls that were directly specifically for research institutions, and you couldn't be a business. So I think the bottom line is it's not an either or, it's often an and.
Thanks, Chris. Eric, go for it.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I just want to echo Phil's sparkling debate there. I also have the same opinion that we should be very careful about how and why we are actually funding projects to come onto Cardano. And for example, what type of product that should go under the Catalyst umbrella. For me as a DREP, I acknowledge that. So we have to keep in mind that if we keep funding commercial products, we are basically also preventing people who don't get funding into the Cardano ecosystem. So I think in regards to Treasury withdrawals and commercial, like the topics that we're doing here, it should be for a bare minimum self-sustainable project. So basically, we are just jump-starting them with Treasury. Thank you.
Alex, before I come to you, Phil, I had heard you on mute. Did you want to respond to anything Chris had said before I go to Alex?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, specifically, I was talking about direct Treasury proposals. I think Catalyst is totally fine. Catalyst funding, these commercial projects, etc., because it's at the same scale as grants.
Thanks for that clarification, Phil. Alex.
Hi, everybody. Phil, great question. Looking at this from the product committee's perspective, clear funding streams in Cardano is one of the proposed goals for 2025. So that is something that we need to work on. I think one of the innovations that we see in other ecosystems and where they're going right now are things like convertible grants, which typically convert grant into equities or token based on certain milestones being hit. I believe Builder DAO has proposed such an instrument, and that would definitely be interesting. Then you have also the question of perhaps commercial projects such as, those that are building on other chains that may want to migrate, and perhaps, an equity or token stake by the ecosystem could be more valuable in terms of skin in the game than just a direct grant. And these are some of the things that are actually possible, but it's about setting up legal structures that are actually enabling the Cardano ecosystem to play around with these actors, play around with these instruments, and that's a whole other bunch of work as well.
Thanks, Alex. I'll give us another extra minute or two here before we go on our break, since we don't see any of the new topics in the chat seconded. So Phil, if you want to continue or anyone else want to jump in, I'll put an extra 1 minute on the timer.
Yep, awesome. Yeah. So that was very interesting hearing that these things are possible. I think it's important that we introduce them earlier rather than later, because funding requests are issued now, and if we do wind up funding commercial projects and we don't get, as an ecosystem, get equity or any tangible benefit from it, then we've taken money away that could have been used to build public services and infrastructure like highways that would have benefited not just those specific commercial projects, but the entire ecosystem as a whole, right? Because when you build better public infrastructure, everyone building on top of Cardano has increased capacity and better capital efficiency. So funds to go towards development go farther.
Thanks, Phil. Neil, I want to give you a chance to get in there before we go on break.
I was actually just going to pick up on the point of what Chris was saying about funding and the way that governments and other public bodies have done this in various parts of, at least I know Europe and the UK. I think absolutely but one of the interesting things about those funding regimes that Chris mentioned is that often they will only fund part of the actual support, and you have to find some yourself. If you're doing something that's deemed of extremely good use, they might pay you 100% of what you actually cost you to deliver it. And in some cases, if you look at some of the way that developing supplies and suppliers in parts of public goods, like they're actually offering cost plus a cost plus a percentage to encourage people to enter the whole area. I think these are all models that can all be done, and actually these are models that at least, because I also on the TSC, we're looking into in order to be able to widen the ecosystem, at least at the core level.
Any other thoughts in this discussion? There's a lot of energy here, so we can extend our time to 2:20 or till 25 after before we go on break. Yeah, Matthew.
Yeah, so something I forgot to say earlier, and people have been, mentioned, Alex mentioned Builder DAO again, obviously Chris was talking about Catalyst. Maybe there are other ways of having these kinds of funding mechanisms. I think something that people noted or have noted is that there's a lot of proposals which are more granular in level, more particular, that seem like maybe they shouldn't be funded through the directly through the Treasury. But I mean, what we can do is just redirect, if that's the direction people want to go. I generally lean in that direction too. They can just be redirected to some of these other kinds of funding mechanisms, like a Builder's DAO or like a Catalyst, and that's already been discussed to some extent. But we can maybe think of this first time that we're running through this as well as kind of seeing what are all the various types of proposals that are coming in that are maybe too particular, too granular, and what kinds of funding mechanism, if any, should we create and or adjust to help to serve those needs. So I mean, something else that we saw a lot of was in the MCC was proposals coming through which we thought were too sort of particular to be funded at the level of the budget, and we recommended that they try to integrate with the hubs framework. And so you could imagine similar things happening across a lot of these, where basically you have some sort of intermediary framework for funding, which helps to do quality control and make sure that public goods are being served, rather than just one interested party getting direct access to Treasury funds, which are better served to public goods.
Thanks, Matthew. Any other thoughts, points on this discussion? Yeah, Alex. Alex, if you're talking, you're muted. Alex, can you hear us? Oh, you can't unmute because host.
Okay. Yeah.
There you go.
I got a funny notification. I think one thing that's really important is Cardano has an opportunity to position itself as probably the only ecosystem that can enable these kinds of funding instruments, because we have a constitution which affords us a level of structure that others don't necessarily have. We have an on-chain governance system. and we need to think strategically about how we do this. Whereas most ecosystems will just have projects partner with the foundation or with the labs. We have a treasury, and that actually enables them to partner with Cardano. We just need to figure out how they do that.
All right, thanks, Alex. And Andreas, I had seen your hand raised. Did you want to contribute one last thought?
No, it's good. Sorry.
No worries. All right. Well, then with that, obviously there has been a lot of interesting topics and incredible discussion had. So we're going to go on a brief 10-minute break. And then we'll come back and shift into our next broad topic, which is going to be governance. So Caneric, especially if you could, once we come back, right, Chris is going to do a little bit of a budget presentation again, and then re-up your topic, just so that it's already been seconded, but I want to make sure we have the language fresh in the chat. And with that, we'll put 10 minutes on the timer and we'll see you back here shortly.
Ok, jeg skal bare bable ferdig her. Kan jeg ringe deg jeg ringer deg når jeg er ferdig?
Sorry, Keneric, what was that?
Oh, no problem. Just multitasking here. Sorry.
No worries, no worries. All good, all good. We'll get started in a minute. Just getting the team back. Yeah, I'll just adjusting a couple things in the back end, so we'll probably get started in the next 5 minutes or so.
Okay. So thank you for being patient. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. All right, welcome. So sorry, we are back now, and with the learning from before, we've done some changes. We are now in the category governance, and we will invite Chris to do a quick intro on what's happening in the governance category. And then we change the process going forward. I will direct you once Chris has done his intro.
Hello, everybody. Okay, so as we had with marketing, we have the governance category. We have extracted the latest sentiment from the Gov tool, and rather from marketing, this is a larger, shorter list of submissions. We will go. I will read out a set of proposals and then invite the reps to comment on those sets of 5 proposals. So we have a more aligned discussion. Rita?
Yes, thank you, Chris. So I am now opening the floor in a minute. Just to recap, please, if you bring an issue to the floor, please rename yourself for those who came in late. Put your role behind your name by clicking the three dots on top of your picture and renaming yourself. Then we will go now by the first 5 pitches and bring in, for the DREPs, bring in any issues that you have, and then only DREPs can second it. And once you've seconded it, that issue will be discussed. All right? So in the shared screen, you can see the first 5 pitches in the governance category. Please bring your concerns, questions, and issues into the chat. Take a minute.
So we have a Intersect's proposal, 20 million ADA. It has the very high sentiment of up, thumbs ups, and comments. It is supporting the roadmap by self-reported part. Next one, we have the adastat.net, the Cardano Blockchain Explorer, known portal, asking for 212K ADA, also very high thumbs up ratio. Then we have Cardano Community Open Source Tool for participation in its governance, a Cardano Gov tool, asking for 2 million ADA. Following Cardano Constitutional Committee formation and governance training with SanchoNet Education Network, asking for 500,000 ADA. And Project Catalyst DREP Analysis Framework, asking for 91,000 ADA. Here we have a notion that it has been identified by DREP committee that it could fit into Catalyst.
Inviting the audience to add your comments. If you have a topic or an issue, please write your topic so that my team can pick it up. Please don't be shy, and we also invite those who haven't spoken. We'd like to hear from you what you think about these 5 pitches and proposals. Also, oh, there's a hand raised from Ken Eric. Can you put your issue in the chat so we wait until everyone has seconded and we discuss, so we keep the process flowing? Ken Eric? Or is that a question?
No, it's not a question. I just clarifying and talk about something.
Yes, I know you had an issue before concerning governance. If you have an issue that needs to be seconded, we'd invite you to put it in the chat, so we can have DREP second your issue, unless you have a general question about this workshop. And we open the floor for Q&A later. So we have yes, there's a comment from Andreas. And please remember, only DREPs to second. It's only DREPs to second, not vendors, but it has gotten a few check marks. And if there is no other comment for the other 5 proposals, let's give it a few seconds. Seems Andreas' comment has gotten a lot of engagement here. And with that, are we okay to open the floor? Yes. Okay. So I would like to open the floor for Andreas. You have 2 minutes. Can we have the timer up? You have 2 minutes to address your concern, please.
It's not a concern, it's just a question for clarification, because the budget is quite sizable and the time has been running now for the calendar year. So my question is it covering already occurred costs since early year? Because Intersect has been running for some time, or is this just forward-looking at the moment we call for this money? If it's just for the remainder of the 6 to 7 months of the year, then I would deem this a bit too high. If it's to cover previous cost, we would need a bit more details to support it. But it's not against Intersect, it's just challenging the number.
Yes, and who is this? Who are you addressing your question to?
Whoever has proposed this 20 million.
Oh,
I don't know
okay.
if there is a representative.
Yes, Intersect. Anyone here to answer that question?
I don't think so, but we will definitely have a representative on Monday, and I'll make sure that that question is shared so they can think about it ahead of time if needed.
Is that okay, Andreas? Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Danielle.
Okay, and then I suggest there was a question from Ken Eric in the previous marketing group. Martin, I'm seeing your hand up. Can I just ask Ken Eric, do you want to raise that topic now because it got seconded as well?
Yes, please, if I can.
Yes, please go ahead. So this
Yeah,
is the topic you presented before regarding education, right? On governance.
That's correct. That's correct. And just full disclosure, so I'm a civics. I'm applying for a civics position, and I'm also in chair as the CC tooling committee under the civics. But I think there's a couple of important things that the reps needs to consider, and that is basically the history to this budget, and that is the civics committee pulling back from putting forward their own budget proposals and leaving up to the committee to, let's say, fill those tasks, and then the civics later on will do a gap analytic of what's missing processes there is. One process that I want to lead the attention to for DREPs is the Cardano Constitutional Committee formation and governance training. For those who don't know, we are going to have Cardano Constitution members election in the very near foreseeable, so in very near time, and they will be enacted on chain 1st of September. And in this, there is a need for a training tool, and the Cardano Community Open Source, the Cardano Constitutional Committee Formation and Governance Training is exactly that tool, and is yeah. So for the DREPs, I want to emphasize that that is important to push forward as soon as possible, and it's highly needed. I don't see any other proposals covering educational for the new constitution members. Thank you.
Okay, Ken, thank you for that, Ken Eric. And now the floor is open for 5 minutes Q&A on Ken Eric's particular question, please. Adam, did you have an input on that one? Please go ahead.
Yes, I do. Hi, I'm part of the proposal for the SanchoNet Education Network and the training proposal. I'm working with Mike Hornan on this. Most of you may know that Mike has been doing this training for over a year now in his Discord as part of what he does with the Able Stake Pool. And just to give back to the community, he's also done a lot of contributions through the Cardano Atlantic Council to tooling that is available for advancing constitutional committee voting tools and such things like that. And I've been helping him as a proofreader for his literature that he's put out and other things related to the projects. Some of the questions that have been asked of us in the proposal that we put forward is things like, well, could this go into Catalyst? And to be honest, some of this work has been proposed in Catalyst in the past and hasn't really found a good fit because of the way the Catalyst is structured around being an innovation proposal. And also the work is also just so broad in the fact that it is, to support getting these constitutional committee members ready who are going to be either up for election soon and or selected soon and may need to develop basic competencies. But it's not just for the constitutional committee. It's going to be for a large range of governance participants. So we're hoping to basically form a new organization to network of people to help support this We want it to be an independent organization so that it has, that sort of independence from other influences, that the people who are part of the network can have their say. And the fact that Mike was given control of SanchoNet back in February from input output is a great staging ground for doing this kind of work. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I don't think Mike was able to make it today because he works nights right now. And so he's sleeping. He sleeps during the days. But part of the plan for this budget is to be able to let him take a sabbatical from work to develop the network, and then he'll go back to doing it part-time after his sabbatical is over.
Thank you, Adam. And I don't know if you've seen it, Ken Eric. There was a question from Lucas. Are you familiar with Andamio?
Yeah, so to be honest, I did not know about Andamio. But looking at their site, I don't see anything in regards to Cardano Constitution members training from what I can see from their courses. And I don't know about any proposals that they have made that covers this urgent need.
Okay, thank you. There are a few hands up. I think, Michael, you were first. Go ahead.
Thanks for that. Yeah, I just wanted to second the point that Ken Eric made. So as part of the IO team that delivered the interim constitutional committee training the last time, we're super excited to see especially Mike Hornan step up. He's been instrumental in creating all kinds of training material and really pushing the boundaries of what's technically possible in terms of the security of the network through the Constitutional Committee. So really strong endorsement of this proposal.
Okay, thank you. And then there was another hand up. I'm not seeing it now. Was there
It's
a
me.
hand up? Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, Ken, just to clarify, I think the reason Andamio was brought up is because they have a tool that allows people to be brought onto projects based off them completing educational requirements. So there's a workflow there that might be useful, plus it's a Cardano native project, so why not use it?
Yeah, I agree. And if they could connect up with Mike Hornan and to make cover this need, that would be even more awesome.
Okay, thank you. And any other, there was some comments in the chat.
Hi. So I'll try to speak to the comments in the chat real quick. Question: will Sancho training tool be self-serve or will it be more formal and guided? It's intended to be both. Intended to offer peer-to-peer workshops, including a mentorship network, for a major part of the program, because part of the pedagogy of this is to connect and make a network, but also leave behind a large amount of literature that can be translated to many different languages. And the evidence of community demand and early adopter signups can be shown through the people who have gone through the program before, which I'll ask Mike about those, sharing those numbers.
All right, thank you so much. So with that, the time is up for this issue to be discussed. And I'm now inviting, first of all, I'm inviting the DREPs to look in the chat. There has been a few new questions to see if you want to second any of those. There are from Nanos has already been seconded, Min, some from S. Brown, and another one from Min. And now I'm inviting Nano to raise your question. Who would oversee the utilization? Please, you have 2 minutes to address that question, and then 5 minutes of Q&A.
Right. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I think there is so far a great discussion going on, Brita. So my question really is that Intersect is sort of overseeing all of this process that we are doing now, and obviously it is an operation that they have been running, and it is costly as well. So there has to be some sort of funds for them to be able to run these operations without having major issues or technical breakdowns. And also, when you are applying for, when you are submitting a proposal, at the last part, you are asked whether you want Intersect to sort of be an oversight body for your proposal, or you probably have your own administrator or stuff. So my question is, given the Intersect operational budget, 20 million ADA, if it doesn't get approved by DREPs, what is going to happen? I mean, how are these projects who are selecting that Intersect should be their fund administrator going to operate? Or better, so is Intersect still going to operate without a budget? And is that something that they are willing to do? And how are they also going to oversee the activities of committees and also working groups going forward? Thank you very much.
Thank you for presenting your issue, Nanu. Now I'm inviting the audience for questions and answers. And Adam, you're next, please.
Hey there. So one of the other hats I wear is as a director for Intersect as the organization. And if you would indulge me, if we can handle all of this on Monday, it would really be appreciated, because I know that the staff is working hard to make sure they have more resources available to share with the community on Monday, so that everyone can take full consideration. Now, if the DREPs were to decide they don't want to accept the proposal put forward by Intersect, and instead, find some other funding, or basically not fund them through the Treasury, obviously we would have to find some other way of funding, or do something else. So I cannot speak to what that scenario would be, except that we would have to work out something with the people who have asked us to be their administrators. The purpose of the request is to make sure that Intersect is funded, and I would just ask for your indulgence to wait until Monday, when the staff members who are working hard on the information can provide it all to you, and we can engage in a full discussion.
Thank you so much, Adam. Any other input from maybe someone who has not spoken on this issue that was raised by Nano? Anyone who wants to? Anyone who wants to raise or answer some questions regarding this? We have 3 more minutes. And if not, I'm asking, because of time, so we also want to go through all the other proposals. I'm asking Min. Min, you had a question or an issue that was going to go to the floor that was seconded. Was that a question or an issue?
That was a question.
It was not a new topic to be raised.
Yeah, I think I only have the topic regarding to the TAM that I post below, and the above just questions if for everyone to discuss.
Okay, I'm not seeing the issue. Has that been seconded? On the TAM, no, it's not been seconded. All right, so last call, so just to address the process again, we are bringing issues to the floor on the category governance and regarding the pitches and proposals for DREPs to second issues that are brought up, and then we're going to discuss these issues, right? So if you want to bring a topic to the floor, please name a topic in the chat, new topic, so we know it's a new topic. And with that, I'm now asking Chris to take us through, if you allow me to take us through the next 5 pitches in the category of governance.
Yes. Thank you, Brita. As we are reading through all of these proposals, we are aware that some submitters are not present. We will still read and ask that if questions are raised, they're going to be written down and it can be answered asynchronously. The next proposal we have is Daedalus 2025 Service Enhancement for 760K ADA. Following that, we have Beyond Minimum Viable Governance, iteratively improving on Cardano Voltaire, asking for a little bit less than 600K ADA. Then we have the Cardano Treasury Audit for asking for 300,000 ADA. Then we have the DREP Collective preparing the SIP 1007, extending DREP credentials, ecosystem mapping, and collective governance NFTs. And then we have quality assurance, on-chain and off-chain audit, asking for $500,000.
Okay. Thank you so much. So please, DREPs, bring in your issues to the floor, and then so we can have them seconded. So whatever you have, I'm trying to keep up with the chat. If you have a new topic, kindly add new topic so we know it's something that's a new topic and needs seconded. Please add any questions, issues you have regarding these 5 proposals we've just presented. I'm not seeing anything in the chat. If there is, giving it a few more minutes. If there are no questions, issues, or concerns, new topic regarding, I like how this is phrased. And it's seconded. Wonderful. So I'm asking Marek. That will be the one that we are addressing now. Please, you have 2 minutes to explain your topic, followed by 5 minutes Q&A.
Britta at the bottom, he said he doesn't have a mic at the moment, so I think just go to discussion on that one.
Okay, you've seen, I'm going to read it out to you because it's long. So thanks for that, Danielle. Marek Mahood has a new topic regarding the Daedalus 2025 service enhancement first, where we can see the roadmap for these 2025 enhancements. Second, as there is a second competing proposal for almost the same, why DREPs should choose this proposal. Third, did IOG, as the current owner of Daedalus, agreed on transferring the maintenance to the proposal owner? So please, if you have any answers to Marek's issue, please bring it on.
Sure. Yeah, I think maybe I'll start on this one. I saw, I haven't read all of the proposals. Obviously, there's so many. There were multiple for Daedalus, so I can't tell exactly which one this is and who the submitter was. And so that kind of answers number 1 and 2. I don't have it in front of me. On number 3, I do think that informally, and I would need to check back, but we are willing to support other projects in order to help run Daedalus. And in fact, in our IOE proposal, we call out that specific project name to another party. So we didn't submit it as part of the IOE proposal. And I can look up exactly right now if you need.
All right, thank you, David. Any other answers to Marek's issue topic that he brought in? If not,
sorry, I just like to say this has also come up with some core infrastructure proposals. So there are proposals for community maintenance. So I think it's obviously very important to the community that we do have a full node wallet and that it's supported. So this needs to be factored somehow into the planning.
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. Is this a proposal from the TSC or is this a community proposal?
It's both, Jake. So the TSC has identified the community demand for maintenance of Daedalus as the only full node wallet that we have. There are at least 2 community proposals that would aim to satisfy that, and it looks as if there's an additional proposal in this category which is to do with development. So these proposals need to be sorted out somehow. They're potentially in conflict, but IO absolutely, of course, needs to give a steer. My understanding is that Daedalus is open source, so in principle anyone can pick it up and develop it anyway. But if IO is going to put effort into doing its own maintenance, then this group needs to be aware of that. there's no point doing something twice.
And I think what I said before is that we'd love for community members to actually pick this up. Again, like I said, I haven't looked at all three of them, but hopefully those people identify the overlaps, and the overlaps have been a big discussion over the last couple of weeks. So I don't know if those teams should kind of work together or compare proposals. They may have actually touched different scopes.
All right, there's a hand up from Neil. Neil, go ahead, if it's concerning this.
So yes, it is. Sorry, I need to unmute, don't I? Yes. So I think the key point here is there's a need for continuity here. The team that did exist doesn't exist anymore. My understanding is that this was the team that has been let go in some point in the past inside various organizations. And so the TSC had identified that there was a key need for continuity purposes to make sure this happened. Exactly how and best it happened is actually, I think, can be negotiated. But I think this is more than just a let people sort it out. I think someone has to take the lead here, which is actually what the TSC was going to do in its budget proposal. Thank you.
So whoever in the community wants to work on Daedalus should coordinate all together, including with the TSC, is what I hear.
Yeah, and we're ready to facilitate and make that happen tomorrow, or at least perhaps not tomorrow because it's Monday. But it's already there in our proposal. We've already had, we're already there working on it.
Okay, thank you. We have a few seconds left.
Britta, there's a follow-up question from Merrick on this discussion, which is what happens when both competing proposals will pass? Just want to make sure we didn't lose sight of that question.
Well, that's somewhere, and that's true. Follow-up question from Marek. Any answers to that?
Actually, it's a question for me as well, because how is this going to be resolved? If there's plenty of people with good intention here, but there needs to be some mechanism for doing this. Who's going to take that role? To me, it's unidentified at this point.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a quick answer for that question? Because the time is up. What happens when both competing proposals will pass? Do we have a quick answer for that? Otherwise, I suggest we move on.
Maybe something that we added in our proposal and other proposals that partnering is like DREPs have options to choose both. Now it's also the question, is it going to the Intersect holistic budget or separately? But if there are like some separate or like multiple places getting funded, then we have like this phase before there we like, okay, from this budget, they're agreed to turn off their like funding, and some budgets that are maybe, for example, here we asked 2 million, but maybe some others like the minimum viable governance gets funded elsewhere, then it's already like over 500,000 data off from our project. So I think these like social discussions maybe help to, through proposal, help to kind of create this roadmap how finally the distributions can happen.
Okay, thank you so much. I see your hand, Adam. I'm afraid we need to move on. Can you answer that question in the chat? Because Marek has put his follow-up question in the chat. So I'd appreciate if you could answer that question in the chat. So we give chances for all proposals to be reviewed. I have seen there is someone in the chat, Angel, your question is more a general question regarding DREP compensation. I would like to put that on a later discussion outside of this because it's the purpose to discuss proposals today. Please, thank you for your understanding. Yeah.
DREP compensation is related to the Cardano governance topic.
Oh, all right. Sorry.
Yeah, I was asking if there was anything in the two proposals. I think one was the DREP collective, another one was the MVP Voltaire governance. I was asking if there was anything in there about compensation.
Okay. Do you want to expand on that, Angel? You have 2 minutes.
Well, no, I mean, I think as part of governance, right, we're trying to, one of the things I've seen some of the topics online has been about low DREP participation. And I think if we want this government to work and we want people to be participating and reviewing the proposals and being a lot more actively engaged, and I think it's a lack of incentives for DREPs. So that was the kind of origin of the topic.
All right, thank you. So we already have a hand up, so we give 5 minutes for question and answers, and then we need to move over to the next 5 pitches. Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Angel. It's a really good question. So I just wanted to respond as one of the authors on the Beyond MVG proposal. I think when we're approaching problems like this, one of the things we've realized is we want to take an approach of observing the behavior of the DREPs over a long period of time and be able to correlate the behavior that we see on chain with qualitative study of interviewing DREPs, understanding what their pain points are and seeing where we can recognize that in the data. And so I think there are a lot of hypotheses out there about why participation may be low in different topics. But I think if we can research that thoroughly and come to those conclusions backed by data, that's the best approach to then recommending an incentivization framework.
Right, thank you, Michael. Anyone else have some input in regards of the DREP compensation issue?
Yeah, I actually have a SIP that introduces this. The last step is just for wallets to adopt the SIP for DREP compensation to be live on the Cardano mainnet.
Right, Martin?
Yeah, thank
Go
you,
ahead.
Greta. Yeah, can you hear me? You can hear me, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
So the line which is 98, we are going to discuss it next in the next bundle of proposals. DREP incentivization framework touches exactly all these pain points that all of the people here just mentioned about DREP incentivization options, let's say. So just want to say that we're now going to discuss that, right?
Thank you. Thank you, Martin. Okay. Any other input regarding this issue? We still have a few minutes, but because we're running out of time, if there are no more answers to this question, I would appreciate if we can go to the next
Britta,
set
I
of-
think Matthew has his hand up.
Oh, Matthew, sorry, didn't see that. Yes, Matthew, go ahead.
Hey, yeah, so just since the DREP collective proposal was mentioned, there is basically what's being proposed is this framework for helping DREPs to network and relate to each other, and also the people that they represent in the ecosystem. It's currently a proof of concept ecosystem map using metadata from DREPs to and NFT system for endorsements and this kind of thing. And one of the proposals, one of the proposed deliverables is a system for incentivizing DREPs through that sort of reputation and metadata framework. So just, I guess, another option there. Yeah, I'm not actually myself affiliated with, or I suppose I am in that I help them with some things, but I'm definitely won't be the recipient of any of that money. And by the way, since I work for IO is also not affiliated with this proposal, but I just wanted to mention it since I work with those guys sometimes. I don't think they were able to be here today. So.
All right, thank you, Matthew. So, any other answers? And if not, I'd like to ask Chris to get prepared to present the next 5 pitches. We really have to, in order to get all pitches to the floor, we have to move on to the next 5 pitches, please.
Cool. So next 5, we have autonomous agent testing SDK, asking for 250,000 of ADA. Then we have zero knowledge voting in Aiken, asking 237K. SyncGov Hub, an intelligent, transparent, and action-oriented platform for Cardano governance, asking 345K. Then we have DREP Incentivization Framework, asking for 514K. It was mentioned that there is a similar proposal that we just passed. I have put them in red. Then we have adaspending.com, Cardano Treasury Explorer, an open data source for tracking Treasury spending on the Cardano blockchain, asking for 485K.
Okay, same process as before. Please note new topic, new issue for these 5 proposals just presented. And I'd appreciate if you could be clear so the team can pick it up easily. Any issues, questions, concerns from the DREPs regarding those 5 pitches? And thank you for Katarina and the team for helping me out finding issues in the chat, which is good to have good engagement. So that's fantastic. And while you're wrapping up your thoughts, I just want to also mention some people have raised concerns regarding timing. We did set different times to allow the whole world to participate. We're on different time zones. We were trying our best to make it accessible for everyone. And that might mean that sometimes it's not the most convenient for everyone. And if there is no questions, allow me to take in, there was a seconded issue from Max van Rossen regarding all proposals. Now, I need to find that. Max, are you here? Are you here to present your, yeah, there you are, Max van Rossen. It has been seconded and it's regarding all proposals. The collaboration across these governance proposals is key to working productively and with community buy-in. How are these proposals planning to be representative? I'm allowing this new topic in as there was nothing else on the others. Do you want to represent your topic for 2 minutes, Max?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, together with the delegates collective, the Future Workstream Consortium, we also made a proposal around the future workstreams that were identified during the Constitutional Convention. And I mean, one of the things that we quickly came across with working with 30 plus delegates from all over the world is just how difficult it is to work in a way that we get inputs from everybody in a productive way, many different cultures and time zones. And that, of course, is critical to get good representation of the Cardano community because it is spread widely. So we have a form of way of working that we've been working together with AI tools and meetings and things of this nature. And I'm very curious to hear of the other governance proposals about how they look at working together in a way that there's clear communication between the proposals, but also that you're being representative of the rest of the Cardano community. So that's let's say the basis of the question, and it's quite broad, so many people could answer, but I'm very interested to hear from some of these bigger proposals, governance proposals especially, and to hear how we could possibly work together.
Any answers to Max's question? Yes. Michael.
Yeah, sorry, I don't want to dominate the discussion, but it seemed like no one else was jumping in. Yeah, thanks, Max. Great question and great proposal coming from you guys as well. I think one of the future workstream approaches that you acknowledged that we also touched on in Beyond MVG was the success of the constitutional workshop model in gathering a real breadth of voices from around the ecosystem. And I think that was achieved by going really broad in terms of geography where workshops were hosted and allowing the voices from those far-reaching communities to be elevated up to the world stage. And so I think definitely in your proposal and in ours, and we want to collaborate, that's an approach we want to replicate and bring forward that kind of next generation of Cardano leaders from around the world.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for answering that, Michael. Max, go ahead.
Yeah, so what I meant there also to continue on that, but thanks to Michael, is there's many other governance proposals in here that I'm sure would benefit from input from such a global workshops approach, right? But how do those, let's say, governance proposals then get the chance to input questions or request input from such workshops, or is that not within the scope of how you're thinking about it currently?
Or should I just go ahead and speak to that, bro? Yeah, I mean, I would say it's part of the data gathering process that we want to undertake, right? We're not trying to go in with a presupposition about what the biggest problems are. We want to ask beforehand through targeted interviews, through surveys, through data gathering, what those challenges and what questions stakeholders would like to see posed in the process, and then go into the workshop model to refine them and put forward kind of final recommendations. So I think casting as wide a net as possible on problem identification, question identification, and then funneling that towards an actionable solution is how we would want to do it.
All right, thank you. All right, if that question is answered for you, Max, I would invite the next issue. We don't have one, but if that's all the issues we have for these 5 pitches, in regards of time and also to be able to have a look at as many pitches as possible, I am asking Chris to present the next set. And please, a reminder, if you have a new topic, please label it new topic so that we know that we need to invite DREPs to second it. Only seconded topics will get to the floor discussion. This is to prioritize. And we will grow as the process is new to us, so we will get better as we move forward. So thanks for your understanding. And Chris, please go ahead.
Hi, I just saw in chat that Adam's question was seconded, but did we pass through it?
No, Angel, where Angel? I am not seeing
Angel's
Angel.
question was already discussed.
Okay, great.
Right, that was the DREP compensation. Yes, thank you so much, Kat. So go ahead, Chris.
Next part, we have grants and fund mechanism, ecosystem assessment, asking for 72K. Then we have Cardano governance bodybot, asking for 181K. Cardano governance MCP, natural language access to governance data, for asking for 153K. From roadmap to reality, strategic decisions for purpose-driven Cardano, asking for 206K. Governance space, white label for DAOs, plus institutions, plus projects. All-in-one governance, platform enhancement and maintenance, asking for a little bit shy than 300K. And we are also now passing threshold of green to yellow, where we have low participation or downvotes by DREPs or committees.
Thank you so much, Chris. And I'm seeing your hand, Sebastian. Please keep your question top of your head. I'm inviting DREPs to raise their questions and issues regarding the proposals just presented. Floor is open for DREPs to please present your issues. And please make sure you note new topic so we know it needs secondment.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. I don't want to derail the process, but I just wanted to quickly answer to Angel, because since our proposal was in the next batch of proposals, I didn't want to interrupt the previous one. So quickly about the DREP incentivization framework, I just wanted to say that in that proposal, we are focusing exactly on DREP incentives and compensation, using a framework that captures on-chain data and perhaps some off-chain data in order to come up with a value to compensate the DREPs. And then we're going to use that data to model several outcomes based on how many DREPs there are, how many DREPs can come in or drop off, and give a number of how much ADA this would cost the ecosystem. It could be ADA that comes from the Treasury or ADA from increasing the network fee, right? We don't know which possibility, but it would give some hard numbers of what the impact would be in either case. So that would be our answer to Angel, and sorry to interrupt.
Thank you, Sebastian, for that. Please keep your question. Thank you for that clarification. Martin, do you have an issue to be raised? If not, please keep your question. I'll call you out. Please, we want to give the floor to DREPs first to raise their issues because they need seconded. So
I just wanted to add to Sebastian, because I'm working on this. And that is, in this framework, we are suggesting 12-month period of actually capturing the behavior of the DREPs and not allocate any funds or rewards to the DREPs, but just like a present of what they could get, or how they behave in an ecosystem, in the chain, and how much participation they have. And there are both qualitative and quantitative metrics in this formula that we are presenting in this. That's it. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Let's go back to our process. If you have something as a vendor to mention and to clarify for older topics that's been discussed, I invite you to answer that in the chat, please, as we have allocated time to make it fair for everyone. And now the time is running for these pitches, and I'm inviting the DREPs to bring their issues to the floor. I cannot see any issues being raised for these 5 pitches. And thank you for your understanding, everyone. We may have some time left over at the end where we invite the floor for everyone to bring in remaining thoughts if we have the time. But this space is for DREPs to get clarification on the pitches, so they get more information regarding their polling. And as it looks, I'm not having any more issues for these 5 pitches. So with that, I'm inviting Chris for the next block. And by the way, if you think you have a question for any of the pitches that's been in this category, feel free to bring them on as long as you can label them. And then we bring them on in the later block. We have a spillover block scheduled after the break. So if you come up with an issue that's concerning an older pitch, we invite you later. And here's the floor for Chris to represent the next batch of pitches, please.
Thank you, Britta. Next one, we have Catalyst Reboot, a DREP-led ROI engine for Cardano, asking for $250,000 of ADA. Then we have Enhancing the Project Catalyst award system, asking for $215K. Echo Catalyst, asking for $300,000. Legal Tech and Crypto Arbitration and Mediation Center, dispute resolution in the blockchain and bridging the gap between the traditional legal industry and Cardano's ecosystem, asking for 950K. Then we have Cardano blockchain developer certification in Latin America, asking for 186K.
I'm on mute. Thank you so much, Chris. Please, DREPs, if you have any specific questions regarding these proposals, also having a note from Danielle in the chat, you're also able to ask about changes to a pitch. For example, if you would not pass a proposal unless something is changed, this gives vendors a chance to improve. So please bring in your topics, label it new topic, and raise your concern or your change request so we can ask for seconding from other reps. And Tevo, if this is a new topic, please label it so we can ask for, there's a comment from Tevo, it needs seconded to make it to the floor. And Chris, is that a new topic? Chris Baird. Sorry, too many.
That'll be a new topic for me, but I'm not a DREP, so
okay, right.
Yeah,
that's right. Thanks. Thanks for your transparency. Keep it marked in case there is time left.
Frida, I
Okay.
believe Tivo's topic has been
Yes.
seconded.
Yes, I'm just seeing that saying, thanks, Kat. So Tivo, do you want to take 2 minutes and explain your topic, please?
Yeah, but it's not gonna take 2 minutes. Previously also when we looked at the DREP incentives framework and the DREP collective, like you can see there is overlap. And then I mentioned like going through quickly some of the proposals I haven't looked into. There is a lot of like oversight stuff, and even in the previous like the governance space, I just and the white paper for those, I looked into it, and it felt like this is like we are trying to make multiple, I don't know, DAO infrastructures or not examples, but if we are in this space, is there like could we just kind of enforce or try to make something that people come together and say, hey, these are our intentions. We all have the same intentions. And even if we need to kind of pile the funds together because we have like teams and specialists that you expected to have, you had the vision, at least it's still kind of a cohesive plan to make this decentralized environment kind of work in the governance section. And so we don't create like 4 treasury tools just to do that one thing. And yeah, like everybody who kind of felt like right now I'm targeting like the governance space proposal from the previous cohort, but there are like 6 at least proposals I noticed that are working either on treasury or governance oversight. And I'm just wondering, has anybody tried to engage or seen labeling or on some kind of collaboration or how they plan to do it?
Great. Thank you for your issue or for your topic. I'm now inviting the floor, some minutes to discuss. Who wants to answer Tivo's question? Alex, please go ahead.
Tivo, I think you're bringing up a really interesting point here in the sense that, you know, things have been divided into, let's say, core research, marketing innovation. But what you're saying here is that there's maybe a bucket that hasn't necessarily been defined. And perhaps what I would think here is I'd like to see DREPs kind of guide on, you know, why do maybe a number of different proposals make sense together as opposed to separately, right? Because on a strategic note, it seems like there are a lot that are indeed trying to improve one particular component of our ecosystem. But here they just happen to be lumped all under governance, but there might be kind of a more relevant sub-bucket within the governance bucket itself, or perhaps between the different buckets that we currently have. So I think this is something that DREP should certainly look into and perhaps give guidance as to, let's say, on the topic of DAOs, these make sense together. This is why they're mutually reinforcing each other. And perhaps this is why these other proposals may do that, but a little bit less or not at all.
Thank you, Alex. There's also a mention from Danielle in the chat. I think Thibaut's point is a great lesson learned for the budget process. With proposals this cycle, we can probably create a set of categories emerging from it. Any other participants want to answer and add to that issue from Thibaut? If not, I'm just going to raise, because I'm seeing we are almost at the
Quick
end.
one, sorry. On that topic.
Okay.
Just very briefly bringing in experience from the American defense sector. The way this is usually done in the military, at least, is all the equivalent of the working groups and product committees would be pitched by vendors on different ideas. And then the working groups and committees would issue RFPs on those topics. And then that way you would have coherence and you would have buckets that these things could go into, which is done in a two-stage process, so you don't get this overlap. So if anyone would like to talk about how that works in the real world, I ran one of those conferences. I'm happy to talk about it.
Thank you so much.
We'd be very interested in hearing from a TSC perspective, not relevant to this, perhaps, but definitely relevant.
Also the budget committee, I think, in terms of the process for the next iteration, for sure.
Yeah. Happy to. Just reach out.
Thank you.
All right. I am seeing, okay, it's not an issue, but I'm seeing a question raised by Chris Baird, and because we have a few minutes and only 2 proposals left, and it's been seconded by 2 DREPs. Chris, I hope I am pronouncing your name correctly. The question is, can I clarify about what integration dependency there is with Catalyst, and if any, what is required in any proposal referencing Catalyst? If there is someone who can answer that question from Chris. No, no one to answer. What integration or dependency there is with Catalyst, and if any, what is required in any proposal referencing Catalyst. So there's no one to answer. You can also find the question in the chat and answer it there.
Sorry, can you repeat the question or explain that further? I don't follow.
Is Chris here? Chris,
Yeah, I'm happy to say. I mean, there's just quite a few proposals that reference Catalyst here, and I'm just wondering, you know, if these have any dependency on the Catalyst team or the technology or the program or process that is worth raising at this point, because, you know, obviously we would be implicated in that instance. We're obviously open for collaborations, but it's obviously useful to understand a bit more about the scope of these from my perspective.
Chris, can you raise your voice? You're very shallow.
Oh, sorry. It's yeah, okay. So yeah, if there's any feedback on where there's a mention of Catalyst, if there's any technical or programmatic changes that would implicate Catalyst in being involved in the project, just wondering if there was anything that was worth talking about in this forum, because we haven't had it discussed with the team. That's
Right.
the main.
I mean, and provided that some of these are funded, I mean, Chris, I'm sure you would be willing to talk about what you're building and explain that, so they may see any additions or whatever these projects are. But it wouldn't impact our Catalyst proposal at all. So
Thank you. Thank you for that. And There is also a comment from Daniel Rebar in the chat regarding this. You might want to look at, Chris. And with that, I'm going over because we're having 2 more pitches left in the category, so we can finalize the governance category. I'm inviting another Chris Kowalski to quickly go through these.
So we have Cardano governance workstream asking for 2.2 million ADA and enhancing efficiency, transparency, and community participation in Intersect, asking for 158K. So the 2 last with very low participation. Do we have any present participants of this submission that would maybe be beneficial, as they're the bottom 2?
Yes, thank you, Chris. Anyone from Cardano governance workstream and enhancing efficiency, transparency, and community participation in Intersect? Anyone, anyone from those pitches present? Max.
Yeah, I was just saying to Tivo, I wish that Discord had been part of this column D activity metric, but yeah, I'm here to answer questions. So, I mean, quick overview on the discussion that's been had so far and how the Cardano governance work streams is very related. You know, we're planning to resolve these future work streams with the delegate group, and for that matter, it's open to the Cardano community as well, in a way that is inclusive but also structured. This is the main discussion that I think was there with one of the DREPs on formalizing those roles. That's what we're trying to figure out now as quickly as possible, so that we have that defined in more detail. But
Okay.
yeah, I'm here to answer questions.
So thank you. With that, since we have people in the room, I see your hands up, Martin and Michael. Before we go there, I would like to ask and give the floor to DREPs and to be able to raise your issues. Please keep your thoughts for now. I'll call you out later. Please, DREPs, if you're in the room, raise your concerns, questions regarding these 2 proposals. Or if you have any change requests, anything that keeps you from voting, anything that makes you vote. What are you curious about? We need your issues seconded to bring them to the floor. Giving you some time to okay. So if you have a new issue, Tivo, is that a new topic?
Comment.
A comment. So Tivo's comment is essentially we assume DREPs want more power to choose governance options, but feedback strongly seems to suggest that we set up more centralized structure and then provide path to decentralize. So a comment. There's another comment from Danielle, waiting for issues that we can second and then bring to the floor. Daniel Rebar, is that a new topic to be seconded? Just checking in with you.
No, and I'm not a DREP,
No.
so I can't. Thank you.
Okay.
It was a comment. No worries. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So if there are no, now I'm looking at the whole category, which is now here shared on the screen. Oh, Martin. Martin, do you have an issue or a comment or a question?
More like a comment. I just want to mention that I am also participating in this proposal with Max and many other delegates. I'm a delegate, so I can answer any question post this workshop as well regarding this proposal. So please reach out, ask questions, give feedback, whatever you feel necessary that sway you to vote yes for that proposal. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, for letting us know. And there was also a hand from Michael Madorf. Do you still have that up, Michael? Or was that something you wanted to raise?
Yeah, I actually had a question for Max. Maybe he's going to answer this in his when he speaks. But I wanted to highlight in this proposal, there's a really interesting innovation around decentralized administrative structure. And I was hoping Max could elaborate and share a bit about that.
Yeah, I was just about to get into that. So the proposal that we have written up is really set up as a multi-sig, and it's called the multi-sig ROM. So basically that means read-only memory. There's a bit on the play on the words, and the way that it's really going to be working is that the funds are distributed to a multi-sig, and then the work that has been completed is able to get funded. And the participants of this multi-sig is especially what was being discussed under our proposal, and we're going to be replying to that in more detail. Also, I think it's good to mention that we worked with Ken Eric as well, who has had a lot of experience on MiCA compliant ways of working. So that's something that we're also pushing very hard on. And just a general comment that I hope in the future governance proposals that we see more multi-sigs listed in there. I think that it's native to the way that our community is meant to function. Having multi-sig setups where if there's DREPs that are part of the multi-sig or experts that people trust in, then that makes a lot of sense. And especially if you're new coming to the Cardano community and you want to, let's say, borrow trust, then multi-sigs are, of course, a very strong way to do that. And if you don't execute properly, then the funds get distributed back to the Treasury. I think this really part of the innovation that we're bringing in the proposal that isn't stated clearly enough is that multi-sig is really the way in which this whole proposal is going to execute, and it has to function in a way that is cross-border across 30 plus countries in all different time zones. It's a very big task, and we're making ourselves available to do that. And I think that just to mention one last thing is we did meet each other all in real life in Argentina, and that has really brought the spirit of this proposal together. And I hope that we get to bring it forward. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So with that, just if you have a final look at we're out of time for this category, and I wanted to ask if now, because we have some time, just a reminder for DREPs, if you have a new topic, please label it new topic so we can take it up. Question is if you want to go through okay, so we are taking the scheduled break. I'm just being notified we are taking the scheduled break, and that means we're going to break now for 10 minutes. And that's perfect because it goes until the top of the hour. So let's see you after the break. We're breaking now, and the team meets in our room. Thank you. All right. Thank you. We are back. We are back and resume the recording, and we have some exciting news for you because we will now, thanks for staying with us, we'll now do a demonstration of the polling tool. And someone will demonstrate the polling tool, and then you can raise any questions you have. You can experience the tool, and I'll also hand over to Katerina, and we go as we flow. How is that?
Good.
I'm just, so just Kat, for your info, we're going to do the demo. I'm just asking whoever is going to do the demo to raise your hand so we know who it is.
Yeah, that'll be me. Thanks, Britta. Appreciate it. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. As we mentioned at the outset of the call, Adam Dean and Matt Orchestra, community members, they've been working around the clock as we have last night to test this. We were testing it on pre-prod, so I can't actually do the demo. I'm not a DREP, but we hope this guide, and I'll share it on my screen now, will help everyone get connected. Inevitably, there will be questions, challenges, and so at the bottom of this, actually right here, dedicated support channels will be in there, along with many community members, I'm sure, who will be able to help get this up and running for you. So if you want to go to this, hold on, I lost it. Shoot, I lost the chat. Could someone put this into the chat for me? If you go to this, okay, good. If you go to this main website here, is this website in the chat, Danielle?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Quick introduction. Adam Dean and Matt Orchestra, like I said, they've been doing tremendous work around the clock to get a on-chain voting tool that we can use during these sessions. I was told it's open now. I think it closes, I can get you the exact date, maybe a day after the third session. Essentially, to participate, you would need to have been a DREP by Epoch 553, and you would connect your wallet to this tool, and we'll show you how to do that here. You need a SIP95 compatible wallet. These are the wallets that are currently supported. Also, you can use the Cardano signer tool if you so choose. This guide is about just connecting your wallet directly. So first you would navigate to this website. It's live now. I think we sent it earlier, but it wasn't published in production. And here's some screenshots of how you would go through this. Essentially on this website, and you would need to open up your light browser, Chrome extension or other extension, I think is the way you need to do it instead of native on the web, or I think you can use the CLI or the Cardano signer as we mentioned. You would click Connect Wallet button here near the top of the page, select which wallet you would like to use, and click, let's see, click Connect or Sign, and then it should say your wallet is signed correctly. Click the Sign button within the tool's interface, and enter your spending password. You're not sending an actual transaction, but really just connecting to this tool. And then depending on after it says your wallet is connected, it may redirect you back to the home page or the dashboard page. If you get this page, you can see that you're connected, and you would just click that home or dashboard button to see the list of ballots. One of them that's open should be live and have a green button. And so that's where all the proposals were imported from GovTools. You should be able to see and click through the drop downs to see those proposals and sort and filter them to your liking. So again, the ballot marked is live. You can switch it here, I don't know if you can see this, but the little list icon, switch it between a list and cards. And then you can view the proposal directly on the GovTools. You can make a comment now if you so choose. You can see how many votes are populated there. And I believe if you click on this button, it brings up more information on total voting, how you voted. This is grayed out because this is pre-prod, but you should be able to click either yes, no, or abstain on each proposal and just see other metadata related to each of those. So this is what I just mentioned. The card here will show you like title of the proposal, its unique identifier, which committee it relates to as self-assigned by the proposers, among other items such as category. And of course, today we've been discussing marketing and governance. Showing more, again, you can see the full proposal. You can comment, you can vote as we just talked about. It's important to remember is you can kind of think about it as like an election ballot when you're maybe voting for your representatives in real life. You can click all the yes, no's, and then you actually need to click a submit button. So at the top of the page, it should say something like, after you click yes, no, or abstain on each of them, you will see something saying unsubmitted votes. Please make sure to click that once you are finished. Actually register those on the blockchain. And that's that bell icon that says unsubmitted votes. You won't see your results in real time, but those should be rolled up about every 10 minutes that we've been told. And you're also able to change your votes as long as this ballot is open, do the same process and resubmit. So you can change as much as you want. And I believe that's it. Unfortunately, we can't do a live demo right now. Like I said, this is in production, and so I don't have the setup. But over the next couple of days, maybe we can do a Loom or some videos to support you. Do let us know if you have any issues. Please jump into these two channels. And I'm sure, as I've learned in Cardano over the past 5 years, that everyone is willing to help when anyone faces technical issues. So I know we won't have problems with that. If you do find bugs, the team's been working around the clock, like I said, and they're going to keep squashing those and make sure we can cast our votes on chain and decide which proposals go into the budget info action. Any questions? I may not be able to answer all of them because what you see here is what I know, but we'll do my best.
We got a couple questions in chat, Dave. One is, how would a multi-sig DREP wallet engage?
Great question. I'll probably need to take that to the forums. We have Adam and Matto. They've been up all night, but they're still around to answer some of these questions. But I can go try to find the answer now and put it here in the chat.
Cool. Thanks, Dave. And then I see Danielle already answered Neil's question on that it should reflect your own time zone for when voting should end.
Yes, mine did when it pulled up, so that should be
so
correct.
this is so the point is this is midday on Monday then, for the UK.
For your probably for your time zone. Yeah. Any questions, concerns about this process, timing?
Max has a question in the chat. What's the level of auditability of votes / counting, etc.?
Yeah, originally this was actually going to be run on Hydra. The team didn't get it done in time, but I think actually running multiple Hydra heads and syncing them all up, everything can be auditable on the chain. And I know we talked as the budget committee about being able to transparently see all the data, have other community members verify it. So another good question. I forget exactly where we landed on it, but it will be fully public and transparent and auditable. And in fact, in anticipation of comments, we've started to make some FAQs. And so as we get more here and in the Discord and Telegram, we'll probably make an FAQ over the next couple of days so this process gets smoother day by day.
I do want to ask a question. Do DREPs understand the difference between this and what was in GovTool? I just want to make sure that that is clear to people as to why the tools are different and what the use is for each of them. So I guess I'll just summarize, but if there are questions, please do ask. GovTool is used for submitting proposals and for gathering early sentiment on them. And then we're using this tool to do stake-weighted polling for kind of the final decision of what goes in and out of the budget info action. And of course, DREPs have the final say on the budget info action itself. So that is the stage that's the official decision. But this is an intermediate step that is at this point you're signaling whether or not you think the proposal should go in the budget info action.
Thanks, Danielle. Alex, I see your hand raised. Go for it.
Thanks for the explanation, Danielle. Here, this is just a question for me as like a DREP myself generally. On GovTools, DREPs would be listed in terms of their yes, no, and you would know who said yes and no, right? You could attribute that, whereas it seems like on this tool, this isn't possible. Would you encourage us to comment as DREPs to indicate our yes or no? Or does this actually appear directly? Because right now, for example, just to take an example, Starstream has 1 vote of 43 million ADA, but I don't know who that is and why they thought this way.
Yeah, good question. So I'd have to check whether the features are completely live or not, but there is 2 kind of main pages in here. One is the ballots and voting, and then the other is looking at the DREPs. So you can pick a DREP and see what they've voted on. And then it's also been intentionally kept a little bit harder to see who voted on what until the poll is finalized, just so that we're not overly skewing people's opinions by the results early on. So I will we can take back and confirm with the team if once the poll is finalized, you'll be able to see that full level of detail or not. It may just reside in that view of the DREPs.
Thanks, Danielle. And just want to raise Otavio raised an error he found that he's also going to follow up on in the Discord with proposal filters. Is it Vera? Is that how you say your name? Go for it.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
I saw in the voting tool our proposal is with the wrong amount. There was error in the beginning in the gov tool, and we corrected it after that. Is it possible to import only this because it was a mistake, wrong decimal point?
What time was that update made?
It was updated today because I saw today the mistake.
Okay, so the polls, because of the connection with how it's connecting to blockchain, once they're open, they cannot be edited. We can look into adding a comment to update that information just from a comment on that proposal, but I don't think we're able to edit any of the proposals now. What we can do is open up for sort of ad hoc decisions in a way. And so we could look to try to update the data in a new question on that proposal.
Okay.
But please send that on Discord or Telegram.
Yes. Okay. I will send you the.
Yeah, and part of that, I understand that's frustrating. Part of that design, though, is one of the major concerns with or one of the reasons why GovTool wasn't used to make a decision on the info action is because proposals were able to be edited in that stage. And so you didn't know whether the votes counted towards version 1 or version 2. So we did intentionally want to keep things locked in this poll so that as a DREP, once your vote's been cast, you know that you've casted against that proposal as you read it.
And thankfully, the developers are watching us live, so anything you're putting here is being fixed in real time. They're telling me, so appreciate it. I don't know how much time we actually want to spend on this today, unless people, I mean, because it might take a little bit for folks to get connected and see if they're all set up to go, but obviously we'll be supporting around the clock. And also, there will be the name of the DREP pulled in instead of just the DREP ID. I think they're going to try to squash bugs first and then be able to sync that data over so you can see who voted. I think that might have been Alex Maz's question. Anything else on this? I think there's a hand up.
I think that's just Viren's hand. I just don't think he's lowered it yet, unless Viren, you have another question. Okay, all good. And Danielle just posted the link in the chat for the tool. Any other questions around the tool? We want to make sure we give you all enough time before wrapping up this session to make sure questions are answered so you can use it to the best of your ability. We have a question from Mercy. Are all proposals going to be uploaded for voting in the new tool or only some?
All of them, right, Danielle? I mean, we're not.
Yeah, so there was a data export from GovTools 5 p.m. UTC, April 24th. That is the basis of which the proposals were loaded in. So all of the proposals that have been submitted to GovTool by that deadline are in this new voting tool.
Thanks, Danielle and Dave. And I'll just highlight, there's a couple comments just raising a couple of mistakes that people are finding. And my understanding is best place to raise those is either on Discord or Telegram, right, Danielle?
Yeah. I'm moving now, but that'll be the support channel.
Great. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Danielle. So please, yeah, I see more. So please continue raising those issues on Discord or Telegram. Any other questions about the tool? Not so much mistakes you find. Okay. As those questions keep coming up, would love to spend a little bit of time coming back to if there are any discussion topics related to the marketing and innovation proposals that you would like to bring up for seconding. Right, we have a tiny bit of time left before we move into our closing, and so want to revisit any topics that you all feel like are still on your mind. And if there are none, then we'll move on to getting a little bit of feedback, but I'll wait for a minute or two to see if we have any topics come in. Thanks for pulling that back up, Chris. Appreciate it. John's asking if someone could repost the Discord link, please. That'd be great.
Let me attach a document that has all the links in one place.
Thanks, Danielle. Okay. As I'll give it another minute before we move into summarizing action items for the day. And and dropping in a link where we will be collecting your feedback about this session. And we highly, highly encourage you all when we drop in that link in a bit to please fill that out, because we will be taking that feedback in immediately to iterate on the session coming up in a few hours. And Britta has just dropped that Menti link in the chat. With that, I think I don't see any new topics coming up for seconding and discussion. So we'll shift into our reflection and wrap up. So I'll hand it over to Britta, and we're going to actually kick it off by hearing from the secretaries a summary of any actions that came from the discussion today.
Thank you so much, Kat, for that. And I'm hearing there are no actions, so we just checked in, but thank you for that. So team, please, if you, I mean, all participants and viewers here in the room, if you could please go to Menti and give us your ideas and input of what you liked about today's workshop and where you feel you would like to have an improvement. As you know, this is new, this is a new process, and we're trying different things and different approaches. We're flexible to adjust. We cannot promise to adjust to everything and every need, but we're doing our best to be flexible. And just to give you a brief lookout about what's happening in my tomorrow, in the US this evening, in wherever you are in the world, at 2 a.m. UTC, we're going to have the second day workshop, which will cover the categories core, research, and no category. In a pretty similar way we did today, and it's mainly for DREPs to raise their concerns. And then on day 3, which is Monday for all of us around the world, I believe, we will have a cross-category discussion before we go into the summit next weekend. And I'm seeing from Danielle, she's put the slides into the chat. And yes, I'm keeping it open for a minute, just checking. Yeah, with that, I'm hoping you can spread the word. We will live stream tomorrow as well, share the links to the live streams, and get some more DREPs to attend, to give power to the community. And if there is no pressing issue, please, the chat will be saved. I'm doing that right now. And yes, you have the live stream if you want to go back to something that is important to you. And with that, I am inviting the team into a room, and I will be closing this workshop, and I hope to see you in a couple of hours for those who are awake.
Thank you all for participating.
Thank you, Chris.